we're at the end of April here. We're at the end of April here, 2017, and I thought it'd be nice to do an update video on our chicken composting system. I'm going to link right now to the first video where I start talking about the concept this spring of how to manage the huge amounts of compost that the chickens are generating in this area without having to take it out. You get so vocal as soon as I start talking. So the first thing I wanted to mention was that the ring system seems to be working. I haven't lost any transplants. The things that have gone in about a week ago are starting to grow really nicely, and some experiments with keeping the chickens out seem to be working well. So this has got cabbage and spinach growing in it, in basically compost that's not completely finished. So whether it works out or not, these are actually spinach plugs from a local organic farm, TC3, in Cortland, New York, where they let us glean the spinach when they're done, and we cut them close and then dug out the plugs and transplanted them. It's a really generous situation where we can get these, waste products, so to speak, to experiment with. Those are doing nicely. This ring, which is a 4-foot high welded wire, 2x4 welded wire. It's filled about 2 feet with compost, transplanted into with a whole mix. There's spinach and kale, mizuna. There's even New Zealand spinach, and everything seems to be growing nicely in here. It needs a little bit more water. I mean, it's still an active compost pile, but this is a great source of greens for our chickens, and if we wash them and cook them, seems reasonable for us as well. The next layer of experimenting, which is really early on, is to fill these rings entirely with compost and plug in transplants and rings all the way around the sides. That's going to be very exciting to see if we can actually have spinach, lettuce, kale gush out the sides. And already I'm seeing seeds germinating in here. Looks like tomatoes. So this is promising that we could even put in seeds for sunflower or amaranth or corn and see if that comes out. The plan will be to seed the tops of these to a grain crop. Sunflower, corn, and amaranth are the ones I'm thinking of, just to have this crazy fountain. And then while we're at it, we're adding the shrub layers. So we've put in black currants, blueberries, and aronia around this water area, and put little cages around each of them. So that's been working pretty well. Let's take a look at another area. So this is the newest area that we're starting to manage. I just set up these rings this morning. I'm kind of sifting through and getting the oldest, woodiest compost into the bottoms of these rings. And the idea will be the compost in the middle. This was all leaf bags, wood chips, horse manure, and some soil in the fall. We threw seeds into it which germinated, and the chickens are eating all those sprouts actively. You can see there are still some sprouts left in here. Not a tremendous amount. They're polishing off the last of those. This material is just about ready to go into the garden. And so the workflow I want to use for that, what I try to do is anytime I come in to take compost to the garden, I bring something with me. So in this case, we've got some beautiful dandelions, which the chickens can work on. And the first cutting of comfrey, which the chickens really enjoy. They've been eating worms so much this morning, they might be too full to be able to even eat, but they'll get around to it.
I think they like it better when it's not so fresh.
Yeah? They like a little rotted?
Well, they like it a little softer from...
Yeah. Well, it'll be less fresh in no time. And so now I can use the hay fork to get into this material and actually sift it. And the charcoal and sprouts and old leaves and things like that can simply get dumped back for the chickens to put another round of work on. So this material still has weed seeds in it, I'm sure. It's not completely finished compost, but as a side dressing to transplants, it should work really nicely to feed our cabbages, cole crops like that. I'm going to side dress all of our onions and leeks with this material. So I'll just slowly go through and sift this, put the coarse material back for the chickens to work on, and slowly but surely get through all this material. I would guess there's about 40 wheelbarrow loads in this one area. So I'm going to try to get to it. Each of these rings will be planted out to different crops that we can enjoy, or the chickens can enjoy. And we'll do an update once, maybe in a week or two, to see how this is all evolving, how the seeds are going, how the transplants in the garden are enjoying this compost. But overall, the chickens are really happy. They're being fed for free, and we're getting some pretty amazing yields from this. So far, so good. Pretty exciting.